We have a simple Phoenix app here. It is designed to generate some kind of monthly report for us. When we click the button here, it generates the report, but it takes quite a lot of time. What we want to do is to generate this report in the background instead. This way, the user doesn't need to wait for like 10 seconds before taking further actions. To achieve this, we will use Oban. Oban is a tool that lets us process background jobs in a straightforward manner. In the Elixir or OTP, we already have tools like gen servers that make it easier compared to other ecosystems. But using Oban is still really simple for basic tasks. It handles common scenarios like retrying jobs in case of error out of the box, and offers us many more advanced features once we need them. The first step is to add Oban to our Phoenix project. We just need to follow the installation instructions in the Oban documentation. As you can see here, you can either use the Oban installer with Igniter or manually add some configuration to your project. I won't go into details here, but I'll cover one important part, that is defining queues, later in the video. Oban is already configured in our app, and I have a live view that calls the send monthly report function with a customer ID as an argument. The current function basically calls sleep function to simulate a long-running task, and then logs information to the console, so we can see it completed the task. Our goal is to move this long-running operation to the background. To do this, we need to create a job and insert it into Oban queue to be processed later. The first step is to define a worker that will process the job. And in our project, I create a folder called workers and add a file named send-monthly-report.exe. Oban workers are basically Elixir modules, so I'll define one, and now I need to call use Oban worker. One important argument here is the name of the queue where the jobs for this worker will be added. I'll name it reports here. Next, we need to implement the perform function, which Oban will call to process the job. First, I'll just move the code from the original send report function to the worker. We of course need to add missing require to make logger work. And then take care of the missing customer ID. So let's have a look at that job argument. It is an Oban job structure that it includes an args map that we can use. In our case, we're about to pass customer ID here. This way, the worker can access and use the data when processing the job. Last but not least, the perform function should either return OK or an error tuple. In case something went wrong, Oban will handle errors for us, retrying the job by default. We'll just return OK in our case. Now, coming back to the configuration, when defining the worker, I used a queue named reports. However, in the default config, there's only one queue called default. I'll replace it with the reports queue and set the maximum number of simultaneous jobs to, let's say, 3. Finally, we need to insert the job to our queue. First, I'll create the map of arguments to pass, so just customer ID in our case. Then I'll pipe it to the send-monthly-report.new function. This function was implemented for us when we called use Oban worker, by the way. Now, once we have our job, we just need to insert it into the queue by calling oban.insert. And that's it. Let's see if it works. We made some changes to the configuration, so I need to restart our Phoenix server to reload it. And now, when we click the Send Monthly Report button, it returns immediately. Nice. I try it a couple more times. Let's check the terminal. Yeah, we can see the jobs are done processing after about 10 seconds each. Finally, let's check how many jobs are processed in parallel. I'll click the button 5 times. I expect first 3 jobs to finish roughly at the same time. Okay, looks good. And the remaining 2 about 10 seconds later, because they need to wait for a free spot in the queue. Perfect. Everything seems to be working fine. We have a robust and expandable background processing system, and the first worker implemented in about 5 minutes. I've tried to show you here how easy it is to create basic background job using Oban, but it offers a lot more. I would recommend going through the official tutorial here. It gives you step-by-step introduction and includes topics like testing workers, for example. But if you want me to also cover some more specific Oban topics in the future videos, let me know in the comments. And see you next time.